Today on the Indie Hour, we have Gilded Guy, an indie series of musical animations all formed to tell the story of Gilded Guy. Through his ups and downs, following his path no one but he can see, the series was created by Michael Moy, or the artist of the same name, Gilded Guy. If you don't know him, he kind of sued a channel for leaking content. Anyways, now personally I had never even heard of him before. The only reason I've heard of the guy, the Gilded Guy, get it? Was from Fortnite, surprisingly. One of the first indie, well, anything to be added to Fortnite for the Short Night 2 feature. It featured his animation for Gilded Guy's origins labeled as Story 0 because at that point he was up to Story 6. Now did I watch the short in game? Dude, how can I remember that? That's from 2021. So without any further interruptions, what I love about indie is they always take liberties, but with liberties also create some amazing entertainment. This series is the pure definition of show don't tell. No voices meaning they can't say what they're experiencing. What the visuals really mean, it's well, all up to interpretation. It is telling when Gilded Guy began to really delve into his character, and that's with Story 2. It doesn't mean in any way Story 1 still isn't worth a watch for a good old stick battle fight, especially made in 24 hours, goddamn. So yeah, I kind of forgot to mention, this series, if you're unaware, are more detailed stick figure animations. And a bunch of the fight and background characters are with other artists, stick figures OCs, notoriously Bog, Ozop, Jade, Fry, and it's always shown through Gilded Guy, the animators. Fantastic taste in music to fit every story. Seriously, without Gilded Guy, I would not have found possibly one of my favourite bands, On Lap, where it has inspired a ton of visuals I constantly see in my head. I've heard I'm not the only one who does this. Out of every song from each story, I love every one of them and saved around half of them in my playlist. And not every story is a fight. Sometimes it's just fun, exploring the town and internal struggle, but mainly they are fights. But they're fights with a purpose. Trauma infliction, recovering, and much more. And even if you don't get what Gilded Guy is portraying at first, with its messaging, it's not like you don't get to watch absolute eye candy with each story. I'd say Dragonama is my favourite in terms of animation, as what it demonstrates is Gilded Guy as an artist and the skills he's put into every one of his stories to make this massive feat of animation. You can really tell what techniques he used for some scenes that were the main new addition in previous stories. 2D in a 3D space, minimizing color, fast actions, you get the point. It's the ultimate byproduct of everything he's done over nearly 9 years until this infamous story. Each episode has its own set of visuals and it's never in the same style, which just makes every story cooler and stand out from each other. And in the stories themselves, you can see just from how the animation moves and flows what kind of visuals he's going for. You know, I've mentioned the music, the visuals, but not the story themselves. The general idea is that Gilded Guy goes through so many challenges to achieve his goal, something a lot of people can relate to because there are struggles in fights you have to go through to get what you want. You watch as Gilded Guy learns to fight, has internal struggles, trauma, overcoming his trauma, and much more. There's even a prologue story for one of his characters, which is his wife's OC, which still has the same level of creativity and ingenuity as the previous stories. Like, it's insanely good how good this story is because this is what I've always wanted in shows. What it reminds me of is a mixture of filler and serialized mixed into one, and I just love that. Some stories will have a few minute openings before they actually start their songs, and even a bunch of screen time afterwards of the extra story. Up until episode 6, we saw Gilded Guy chasing his dream, but we never knew why. It was just an adventure back then. Story 0 laid down the fact that if he didn't chase his dream, he would have ended up with an unfulfilled life he was forced into. One of money, entertainment, love, but it would drain him from looking so dull to ending up so bright. And look at him compared to how much and free he was in Story 7. Like, he's so blue compared to his usual colour. I mean, it was probably a stylistic choice, but come on. But I will say this, I think my favourite, without a doubt, is episode 6. Not for just the amazing animation during the fight scenes, but I really love that Gilded Guy, the artist, chose the perfect character to mirror Gilded Guy in some way. Ogzob is a character who lost both his hands, it traumatized him, and while he got over it, he never fully recovered. while Gilded Guy didn't want to deal with his pain, and it did help him overcome his fear of Bog and help Ozop in his own way. It's a series that takes itself serious, and who would have thought it's an indie production that does it the best? And honestly, there isn't much to really critique. Seriously, this is quite possibly one of the hardest pieces of media to criticize, even in the slightest, where I have no complaints, nothing. The only things you can criticize is the story and animation, and yeah, Gilded Guy provides astonishing depth and quality with both. Gilded Guy always has a goal, and each story follows it and pushes him to grow as a character, not to do it for money, to overcome drama, not to become a worse person than who you are, and the animations are always bright, vibrant, and when it needs to be, dynamic, thrilling, and fitting for the scene they're displaying. You can feel the emotion in the animation without a character having to say what they are feeling. Like, what else can I really say? Gilded Guy is a fantastic series. Look, I'm not sure if Gilded Guy, the character, is done, or if it's just focusing on other tales. Gilded Guy does have a project announcement on his Patreon, but yes, Gilded Guy has a continued story on the way. If you have 2 hours to spare, I think you'll really enjoy yourself. Spirit out.